Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV. I've got a new version of a keyboard I was quite fond of last year. This is the 8bitdo Retro Mechanical 108. And if it looks familiar, it's basically their keyboard from last year with a number pad attached to it, which I think is a nice improvement. And we'll compare what the size looks like to the old one with the additional number pad accessory that they have in a second as we work our way through the review here. So this is a nice one. I'm looking forward to making this my daily driver keyboard, and we're going to step through what makes this keyboard special as we're working our way through the review here. And in addition to getting the keyboard, you also get these fun buttons here too that you can program with different macros. So we're going to have a fun keyboard review here coming up, but I do want to let you know, in the interest of full disclosure, that I paid for this keyboard with my own funds. The other one I have, 8bitdo, sent to the channel free of charge last year. No one is reviewing or approving what you're about to see before it was uploaded. This is not a sponsored review, and all of the opinions you're about to hear are my own. So let's get into it now and see what this new keyboard is all about. Now, the price point on this right now is about $120, but they do fluctuate in price from time to time. This will work with just about anything that supports keyboards, and there are 3 different ways to connect it. So over here, there's a dial. There's a Bluetooth position, there is an off position, and a 2.4 position. So if you have it in the off position, you can connect it to the USB Type-C port here on the back, and that will basically allow you to use this as a USB keyboard. And if you want to go with a wireless option, you can switch it into 2.4 mode and use the included dongle that it comes with. And that garages itself here on the top of the keyboard, and it has a nice magnet that snaps it into place to ensure it doesn't fly away on you. And it also works with Bluetooth, so you could have this thing connected up to 3 different computers. You can plug the dongle into one machine, you could have Bluetooth working with your phone or tablet, and then you can have a directly connected computer hooked up via USB. And if you have it in each position, you can switch very quickly between each device. So I can go from Bluetooth here to 2.4 just with a physical dial, which I've always liked quite a bit on this keyboard. Another thing that's neat about these is that they have some macro buttons here that you can program, so we'll look at that in a little bit. You can program the macros with just a shortcut on the top of the keyboard here, or use their software. I'll show you both methods in a little bit. And of course you have the option to use the external buttons that I keep teasing you with as well. I like the angle of the keyboard. Just like an old retro style keyboard, it is angled upward. And one feature they added to this new one is that now you've got some feet here to extend it up even higher. These are magnetic, so what you do is just kind of push it into position like that, and it will attach itself to the back of the unit. It's sometimes a little hard to get them engaged here, but once you've got those going, you have a little bit more lift on the keyboard than you did before. So if the natural angle isn't good enough, you can get it up a little bit higher. It's not much, maybe a centimeter or 2, but it's enough, I think, to give a little bit more angle to what you had before. Now, as far as key switches are concerned, these are using the Kale switches from the old keyboard, the Kale Box White switches version 2. You can swap out the switches and the PCB apparently, and you can hot swap them if you want. There's one of the switches right there. It's very easy to remove the keycaps and get under there to get those keys switched out if you want. And those same box switches are on the buttons here too. These are green, as you can see, so I think they're using a different switch on these buttons, but they feel kind of like arcade buttons with a very quick click. These have a nice harder feel to it, and as you can hear, a really nice sound as you're typing. So this is not one of these silent mechanical keyboards. This is going to sound super retro old school. The build quality is very nice on these. 8bitdo's got very good industrial designers. It is all plastic, but it's a very high quality, hard plastic. It's got a good weight to it also, so it's not going to fly around on the desk as you're typing on it. It's got nice secure rubber feet that lock it into place, and I found it to be a very comfortable keyboard to type on. It feels pretty much the same as the prior edition, but again, you've got now the number pad section here as well. And surprisingly, it's not all that much more compact than the old keyboard with the number pad accessory that they sell separately. So I'll kind of move this over a little bit. So it's maybe about an inch or so less wide perhaps, but not that much so. But it's nice to have everything integrated into one unit, because if you bought this one along with their number pad accessory, you would need to plug both into USB independently. This one works off of a single USB or wireless connection. One other note is that the number pad that they sell separately has a built-in calculator that allows you to basically use it like a traditional calculator. You can do all your standard calculations on it. This one lacks that screen, so you won't be able to do that sort of work on this keyboard without pulling up your on-screen calculator. But all in, from a hardware standpoint, it's really, really nice and adds the number pad that I was hoping the other keyboard would have as an option. One note, though, is that this is not backlit. And that remains, I think, one of the big deal breakers with these 8bitdo keyboards, because a lot of people want that backlighting, even a simple backlighting, and this one does not have it. So maybe the version 3 keyboard at some point will add that later on. But I'm a touch typer, been touch typing since my high school career. So for me, it's not a deal breaker, but I think for many people, they want that backlight, especially on a keyboard that looks this cool. And speaking of looks, they've got a couple of different versions of this. Right now, this keyboard is shipping with the NES style, which is what I have here. They also have one that has the color theme of the Japanese Famicom, which was the Japanese version of the Nintendo Entertainment System. However, on the other keyboard, they've got a bunch of additional styles, including a traditional IBM style, which I would love to see come to this keyboard, along with a Commodore 64 and a few others. So I am sure those color schemes will follow to this keyboard in the future, but for now, there are two choices at the time I'm recording this video. All right, so let's take a look and see this keyboard in action. I promise I won't bore you with just typing. So we've got it connected up to a Windows PC. Again, this will work with just about anything that supports keyboards. And there are a couple of hotkeys on here. So for example, I'll see if this overhead view here works. I can hit my calculator button here, and that will pull up the Windows calculator. I can also twist the knob here, and my volume will go up and down. Now I'm covering that up right now, but as you can see, when I twist the knob, my little volume indicator pops up here for moving the volume around. And you have some other keyboard shortcuts here on the function keys. Now on the back of the keyboard, you're going to notice a row of 4 connectors. These look like headphone jacks, but they're actually for the accessory buttons that come with it. And as you can see here, we're only going to be occupying one of these positions, so you could actually get more buttons or some of the other accessory items and have a total of 4 different things connected up with these special cables. These do not work wirelessly, so you will have some cable management to deal with, but they're a lot of fun. So what I'm going to do now is set up a macro, and the macro that I want to set up is the key command for capturing my screen. And to do that, typically, we would hit Win, Alt, and R to do it. Now, if I push this star button down here, that puts it into programming mode. So if I hold down Win, Alt, and R, and then push the button on my big button thing here, I have now mapped the screen recorder to this button. Now, it does execute the first time when you set it up because it does pass that command over while you're in programming mode. I'm going to hit stop here, and we're going to now try to push the button here and see if that little recording icon shows up in the upper right-hand corner after I push it here. So I did push it down, and it just started up. So you can see that recorder going there in the background. And I think if I hit the button again, it should stop it. So there you go. So that's an example of what this button can do. For someone like me, where I'm switching video positions with a spacebar right now on this keyboard, I could easily have one of these buttons do it for me. So you can pretty much map any key to any of the programmable keys on the keyboard here without having to load the software up. And so you can do the A and B button on here. There's a few other keys on here that can also be configured to do different things. But if you wanted to do some more advanced things, that's what we need the software for. So why don't we load up the software and see what else we can configure with the keyboard here. So here we are on the 8bitdo Ultimate software. And if I go into Profiles here, I can configure how the keyboard works. Now, I did create a profile already called Lon, so I'm going to jump into that. And I can now go in here and change what all of these keys do. Now, you got to be careful in here because some keys are kind of important, like you want your Q key. But if I wanted to, I could change Q to do something different here. So I can have it be a different keyboard. I can have it do a function of some kind. I could even turn off the key altogether. So you've got a lot of granularity here. I can also program those 2 special buttons here too from the software. Additionally, I can also program the buttons from here too. So we did program this one earlier, but I could go in and maybe program the other one to do something else. So I can change this to a function, a navigation thing, a modifier. But you also have macros that you can assign. So what I could do with that second button here is go in and set up a new macro, and we'll call this test. And what I'm going to do here is have it basically drop out a string of text. So if I hit start here, I'm going to type in Lon Seidman was here. Probably have a typo there. And as you can see here, it's actually recording how long I'm pushing the key down for. So you have a lot of granularity here. You could have it hold down a key for a length of time. It's actually timing how long those keys are pushed down for. And if I click Save now, that's going to assign that to button B on port A. So now let's pull up the Notepad app and see what happens when I push that button. All right, so to get this macro to work, I need to activate the profile here with that button push. Another thing I need to do is go back to the computer screen here, and I need to activate the macro. So we're going to click on Activate here, and that will get us going. And we'll give that a second to engage. That's going to basically download that into the keyboard. And now I'm going to switch over to the Notepad app here. I'm going to pull up my 2-up view so we get a better view of things here. And what I'll do here is put the button on screen so you can see it. I'm going to make sure we have Notepad selected here. And if I hit B, you can see it's actually typing out at the same rate that I had typed it in on the macro. So I think you can get an idea here as to what you can do with this. You can hold a key for a certain length of time. You can have it execute all at once or with a delay in between key presses. You can have it wait. There are some functions to do some pauses and stuff too. So there's a lot of granularity here that you can program in with these macros. And then you can click on it and go in and edit it if you've got typos like mine had. And then of course you can do repeat functions and a whole bunch of other stuff as well. So really cool stuff here. Lots of fun to play around with if you are looking to enhance things beyond the basics. But it's nice to be able to do a very simple macro where you're just doing a key combination and you don't need the software to do it. Or you can jump into the software and make a much more complicated set of automation that can pair up with your keyboard. And if you buy a few more of the buttons, you can do a bunch of other things too with just a button push. So all in, a very nice update from the original smaller keyboard that 8bitdo put out. All the features you just saw are on the smaller keyboard with the exception of the feet here at the bottom of the new one. But beyond that, it is the same deal, but now with an integrated number pad. And that lack of a number pad for me was the only reason why I wasn't using the older 8bitdo keyboard as my daily driver. I do use the number pad quite a bit. I'm always crunching numbers for the business here, so it's nice to have that feature now integrated into the keyboard proper. And it is a little less wide than the other one when you have the number pad next to it. But all in, this remains one of my favorite keyboards. I really like the way it sounds and the way it feels. If you don't like the switches, you can swap them out later. So it is a very nicely designed keyboard. I love the retro feel to it. It looks retro and it feels retro. And I'm really hoping that they make a version of the IBM style for this too, because I think that's going to be a killer keyboard if that gets put together. So altogether, another solid product here from 8bitdo and one that I am comfortable recommending. If you do like the number pad, it's nice to have it integrated here. But again, most of the features you just saw are on the other one too. That'll do it for this one. Until next time, this is Lon Seidman. Thanks for watching.